Vietnam, 2003 and 2004. My first trip to Vietnam came in April 2003. It happened during the SARS outbreak. Between November 2002 and July 2003, an outbreak of SARS in southern China caused an eventual 8,098 cases, resulting in 774 deaths reported in 37 countries, with the majority of cases in China, 9.6% fatality rate, according to the World Health Organization, WHO. When planning the trip, there were 50 deaths in Vietnam. I looked at the odds and felt they were in my favor. But, during the trip we were close to an outbreak area at one point. This photo is of Tu Lan. She along with Tu's family met us at the airport. She helped me out during my visit by opening doors and bringing me beer. We had a great time going around to different sites and eating at local restaurants. She was in school, so was not always with me. One morning, I got to ride with her father, and her on a motorbike taking her to school. She tried teaching me some Vietnamese, but I was not a particularly good student. She was much better with her English. Vietnamese is a tonal language, and remember I am tone deaf, so it was exceedingly difficult. I know that she loved ice cream, which we enjoyed at lunch one day. Visa for Vietnam travel and boarding pass from Taipei to Ho Chi Minh City. My wife with her mother and 3 sisters, on the train from Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi. We would be on the train for 2 nights, and getting into Hanoi around 5 o'clock in the morning. On this day, we were traveling through the middle of the country along the coast. I got to see many sights from the train, but no time to visit. We spent one day on a boat by ourselves, because of SARS, touring around Ha Long Bay, and had one of the best meals on the trip. We are docked up against a floating seafood market. We selected fresh seafood, and it was cooked and served to us on the boat. Photo was me in front of the presidential palace in Hanoi. One day, I took a slow ride on a cyclo around Ho Chi Minh City. This was the way to see more than you would riding in a taxi or motorbike. You could see, feel, and smell the sights around you. Some streets were wide open, and not much traffic, while others were very crowded. Returned to Vietnam in November 2004, and there were lots of changes. The country was growing, and this time there were a lot more people, including tourists. Tu Lan was again there to meet me at the airport, with the rest of the family. She, her sister, and I shared a taxi back to my wife's mother's new house. We again shared many meals and trips together. But she had to go to school, so she had lots of work to do. In 2003, Tu's mother lived in the building in the middle, living on the 2nd floor, and renting out the 1st and 3rd floors. In 2004, they have moved into the new house. No air conditioning in the old house, where most rooms with air conditioning in the new one. I also returned again to the tunnels around Chu Chi. This time visiting another section of tunnels. We entered the tunnels with a guide, my wife, her sister's friend, myself, and one flashlight. For some reason, the guide gave the flashlight to my wife's sister, who got claustrophobic, and took off with the light, and left us in the dark. We were down about 3 levels, and there was no light. Oh, did I mention that there was lots of Vietnamese language, excited, being heard? I started to hyperventilate, but calmed myself down with the thought that I could go back, and find my way out. Finally, the guide caught up with the sister, and returned with the flashlight. The photo was taken upon his return. The tunnels have been widened for us tourists. The photo shows their relief and happiness after getting out of the tunnel. Fruit, in fact, might be the single best thing about eating here. Saigon's proximity to the Mekong Delta, which supplies fully half of Vietnam's produce, means the city overflows with papaya, mango, coconut, jackfruit, soursop, and other exotic treats. Wildly colorful fruit stands are on every other corner, their artfulness rivaling the displays at any high-end department store. Even at Ben Ton Market, where I enjoyed one ridiculously hot day, a coconut drink that satisfied my thirst. I have had a few more refreshing drinks, but this one was near the top. After about a week in Vietnam, I was to travel to Thailand to meet up with my study tour group, with Christians Children Fund Incorporated. There I would spend a week touring the different areas of Thailand. Then I would return to Vietnam meeting the family in Hanoi. This trip we will visit Tu's father's house, north of Hanoi in Tai Nguyen. Tai Nguyen was about 60 kilometers due north of Hanoi. We were to have lunch at his house. While we were talking, I heard a lot of noise outside, which turned out to be part of the preparation of lunch. First, they had to catch the chickens. We had a good talk, and he stated that it was remarkable that we were able to sit down like we were, when we were enemies at one time. He actually served in the North Vietnam military, 1960 through 1961. He spent a lot of time on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. As can be seen by this photo, he received a number of medals for his service. We left Tai Nguyen and headed back to Hanoi because we were attending the opera that night. After the opera, we decided to catch a taxi back to our hotel. It was also another one of those scary rides, which seemed to be right out of the guidebook on taxi riders being robbed. We went down a dark street and pulled up to a large group of people. This is what I have read in the guidebook, where we would be robbed. I was thinking about what to do, and was there an escape route? But before I had to take any action, we continued on, and finally made it to the hotel. Later I found out that he was lost, and stopped for directions. We spent several more nights in Hanoi, where we visited a water puppet show, the sites around Hon Gum Lake, Perfume Pagoda, and other sites. This time we flew back to Ho Chi Minh City. I was confronted at the Hanoi airport by security personnel when they spotted something unusual in the scanner as I was going through it. They opened up the item, which happened to be a knife, which turned out to be placed there by Tu's mother to cut her fruit on the plane. Who owned it and carried the knife was cleared up, the knife confiscated, and we were allowed to continue on our trip. While we were waiting at the airport, a MiG jet took off. It was very loud. In our travels, I also spotted a SAM site which was outside of Hanoi. There were also military barracks in several of the locations that we went. My birthday was while I was in Thailand, and Tu Lan's birthday was when we returned to Ho Chi Minh City. She let me share it with her, so the photo is of the both of us cutting the cake. Her nickname was Little Mouse, and was born during the year of the rat. Here are a few more photos from the trips.